have this pattern. You do something that causes pain, harm to others and suffering, or even to yourself. You just do something that causes harm. And when it's called to your attention, when you have to finally look at it, and there might be a consequence to that. Not a punishment, a consequence to whatever it is you've done. If you don't like the consequence, which you usually don't, you come up with an idea. This is your idea. I will come up with a punishment for myself. I will invent a punishment for myself that if I do that, then I don't have to face the consequence. So it's sort of like I did this thing that caused someone harm. So I'm going to skip a meal. I'm going to, because that's a common punishment people use is you miss dinner because you're a bad kid. So okay, I did this thing that hurt them, so I'm going to skip a meal. And so I punish myself, so now I don't have to have anything else happen to me because I've already taken care of it. It doesn't work that way. You can't punish yourself for something you do and undo karma. It doesn't work that way. So what you end up doing is you do something that harms yourself. So you feel bad because you're suffering, because you're hurting yourself. And that makes you angry. And that anger is telling you, stop punishing yourself because it's not working, don't do it. Instead, you take that anger where yourself is telling you, this doesn't work, don't do it, and you get mad at the person you hurt. You put a false victimization on it. This is the pattern that's being done. You chose a punishment for yourself to try to avoid karma. That didn't work, so you got mad. Then when telling you you're mad, your anger is telling you to stop hurting yourself and trying to punish yourself. So then you get mad at the victim. And when you get mad at the victim, what do? You do something to hurt him. You do something to hurt him, and then you start the whole thing over again. Yep. Recognize you're going to have the consequences. Just let them come. Learn from them. And it'll be easier, and it'll stop you from hurting. Because the consequences are trying to show you what happens when you harm someone else. And once you get that, okay, this is what happens when I harm someone else. Okay, fine, that's what happens. Then you can decide, I don't want to do this. But instead you get this weird loop you've created where by punishing yourself, you actually get mad at the person that you hurt originally. Because somehow you wouldn't have to punish yourself if this hadn't happened. It's all their fault. And so that is what's going on. So if you say, okay, I won't watch this, I won't do this, I'll take this privilege away from myself, and then that will be the pain for my crime. The concept of paying for your crime is false, foolish, and does not work. You cannot pay for your crime. Because the idea of paying, okay, for instance, let me explain this. This is just coming. If you go to the store and you want to buy a dress, you go to the store, you pay for the dress, then the dress is yours. You've paid for the dress. It's over and done with. You don't have to do anything more. Once something is paid for, it's done with. So if you have the concept, I'm going to pay for my crime, you're saying that, okay, I've done something harmful in some way, something against divinity. So if I do this thing, whatever it is you decide you put it, this thing, I am paying for it. Therefore, what has happened cannot be called up again, cannot be discussed again, because it's already been dealt with. But if it hasn't really been dealt with, you haven't really learned, if you continue on those process, then your soul will be saying, this is still here. And you're like, no, it can't be here because I paid for it. I did this thing and that paid for it. So you can't be there. But the soul's like, no, it's still here because you still, this pattern's still here. You're still, this other person's still hurting. No, I don't care about that. I paid for it. It's done. It's done. And you get more and more agitated, more irritated, and then you just start getting mad at everybody because it seems like it's not fair. Because I paid for it, but I'm still suffering. That's not fair. And it's not that it's, you're right, it's not fair, but you've twisted the not fair. It's not fair in the fact because you can't pay for your crime. And as soon as you get the thing that you can't pay for your crime, if you harm someone, there's consequences. Those consequences are natural. Let them play out. You have to go along with however it played out. If you harm somebody and they're hurting for a year, you can't do one act and it's paid for. No, you have to go through the whole process of and getting them back, helping them back to a place of healing and everything like that. It takes a lot longer to heal something after you break it. So be aware. Don't try to punish yourself. Don't come up with a list. Okay, what things can I put on the list to punish myself for what I've done so that it's called I've paid for my crime? Because as soon as you think you can do something and that's going to make it even and paid for, that's why the whole what is that thing about paying for your sins that somebody else can pay, and nobody else can pay for your sins either. The idea that, oh, I can do whatever I want and that person's going to pay for my sins. How are you going to learn anything from that idea? It's bizarre. It's bizarre and ridiculous. If you do something wrong, you need to learn what you did and how it affected others and get through it. You say, I did it. Okay, it's paid for. It's not paid for. It's not a paid for thing. That comes from the capitalistic society and people trying to run away from things, but they can't run away from it, so they're just miserable. So, okay, that's it.